Erol.
Merhaba.
Nasılsınız?
Başlayalım mı?
Çok güzel Türkçe konuşamıyorum
İyiyim,
ama
siz nasılsınız?
anlıyorum. Dikkat etmesi lazım. Ha?
Evet. Tamam. Ama İngilizce yapacağız değil mi toplantıyı?
Everything will be in English, yes.
Oh, okay, great.
And I've got a presentation that I will share my screen. So I just
Great.
I can
We
share
are
right
ready.
now.
Mustafa Bey başlayalım mı?
Tabii buyurun lütfen.
Okay, let's start. Today at Istanbul Aydın University Blockchain Talks, we have a distinguished speaker, Mr. Mark Toledo, Managing Director of Bit4U.io. His title of his presentation will be Blockchain and Self-Sovereign ID, which he sees this is the keys to our future society. We warmly welcome Mr. Toledo, and we give the floor to Mr. Toledo. We are listening to you.
Thank you very much for this welcome, Erol. It has been a long time that I didn't have the opportunity to speak with fellow Turkish friends. Since you know, I've got Turkish origins. My family is from Istanbul, so it's always a pleasure for me to talk with friends. So today we're going to speak about blockchain. I don't know if you see my screen because I got a presentation right now.
Yeah, we can see it.
All right, perfect. So we're going to speak about the blockchain, and most of the thing that I see today, most of the time, I see that people do not really understand what we are talking about, because they understand very well what is blockchain. They know that you got blocks, you got hash function, you got a lot of signatures, but most of the people do not understand the philosophy behind it. And once you understand the philosophy, you open your eyes and you will see a whole new world. So I'm going today to try to share my vision of the technology and the philosophy of the technology that would bring a lot of improvements in a very near future. So let's speak about, first of all, about the most important thing. It's the distributed ledger technology. When I ask to the people, even blockchain specialists, most of them do understand, but not all of the people are blockchain specialists for sure. And the only thing that they understand is blockchain equals Bitcoin, equals energy consumption, equals black money, equals criminality and speculation. That's not at all the distributed ledger technology, which is, according to me, the most important revolution in the coming years. So how to explain the distributed ledger technology? I'm going to give you a small example. If I put this image, I think that in Istanbul, everybody knows who we are talking about. Everybody will say, okay, I know it's Kemal Atatürk. We know him. When someone comes in the room and says, no, this is not Atatürk, this is someone else, this is somebody else. Everybody will say, no, your database is not correct. Please correct it. You see here, most of the people know it's Kemal Atatürk, and they can certify that it is the truth because it's independently written in many databases. And the database here, it's your brain. And the thing is, when you write something all over the world in many different computers, it could be used as an element of truth. Not that the information is true, but the information is valid. So if you want to validate an information, you have to write it in several different places. And the distributed ledger technology is all about that. So if we write down an information and we spread it over a network of independent computers linked by the blockchain for sure, you will have the possibility to put an information and make it considered as true. So if you want, for instance, to the people say, no, this is not Kemal Atatürk, you will have to hack at least 51% of the people at the same time. But you know, it's not possible to hack all of the computers or 51% of the computers at the same time. So the way today that we can distribute the information is distributed over a network of independent computers. What does that mean? That does mean also that the blockchain is in fact a book, a tamper-proof public register that records the history of who owns what and who does what. What does that mean? When you take a banknote, I think that most of you have got a banknote, but on your banknote, you've got a serial number. And when you take your ID card, you've got also a serial number. So if you write down on the distributed ledger technology the number, the serial number of your banknote and the serial number of your ID card number, you will be able, by deploying this information all over the network, to certify that you are the legal owner of the tender. So that's the most important thing. Is if you want to prove something, you will say, have a look at the distributed ledger technology, have a look at the blockchain. It's a public registry. You will see that this banknote, with this number, is mine, because you will see that my ID card is the same than the one that I've got in my hand. So the only way for someone else to say, okay, it's not yours, is to hack all of these computers. So the technology that is used is for sure distributed ledger technology, but the security that is used is a hash function. And most of you, since you are learning about the blockchain, you know what means a hash function. The hash function is a mathematical function that writes a signature on a document. And this signature is made of 256 bytes, 0, 1. So that means 2 to the power 256. It's a huge number. So that means that, for instance, to give you an idea what it does mean, if you want to crack this code, you will need all the computer power of the planet, all the computers running at the same time for a duration which is equals to the creation of the Earth. To know, it's a long time. So if you've got enough time and all the computers of the world, you may be able to crack the code that is used to store the information. So if you can prove that a banknote is yours because you've got the ID card, what you can prove also, if, for instance, if Errol would like to pay me, let's say 50 lira, he can do it, but he will have to write down on the distributed ledger my ID card number. So that means that the new owner will not be Errol, I will be myself. So we'll have my ID card number, which will be linked to the serial number of the banknote. So everybody on the planet will be able to see, oh, Errol is no more the owner, but it will be Mark. But in fact, they won't see Errol, they won't see Mark. They will just see a serial number, which is the serial number of my ID card. And as you understand, you will have the traceability. So that means that we know very well that this banknote was the ownership of Errol, and now it's the ownership of Mark. So that means that you've got a total traceability of the transactions. Yes, you will tell me there are anonymous things, you've got different blockchains and so on, but most of the time you can track everything. So that means that you can track all the people that have owned the banknote that Errol gave me. If I spend it to someone else, I will have to write it down on the blockchain, and you will have the transaction history. So the only thing that is not yet totally correct is my ID card number. If I show you my ID card number, you will never know that it's me. You will have just a serial number. And the main concern with Bitcoin and most of the cryptocurrencies still now has been the relative anonymity. So that means if you are not identified as the owner, but you just have a number to and a secret code to have access to funds, you could for sure do a lot of criminal activities. You know that as soon as you are paying attention, because you know that people are watching you, you pay attention. It's like on the road. When you see those flashes on the road, you will notice that most of the people will just slow down because they know very well that they will be recognized. And if they speed up too fast, they will receive a fine. So the system is very clear. The system is now used to trace transactions. So the real problem with cryptocurrencies and the crypto assets in general, it's not the technology, it's not the Bitcoin. The real enemy is anonymity. It's not the technology. So when you speak about money laundering, people have noticed that they can move millions of dollars all over the world as easy as an email. In a few minutes, you can move money. You just transferred ownership from one owner to another owner. And if the people are not correctly identified, that's what we call the KYC, the know your customer, you will have that problem. And now most of you have noticed that most of the exchanges worldwide are very, very, very conservative for what regards the identification of the user. They will ask you your ID card, they will ask you for an invoice of utility bill, they will ask you a video, they will ask you to move your head upwards, downwards, left, right. Why? It's because people want to be sure that you're the legal owner of the account. And as soon as you are the legal owner of the account, once and for them, they know very well who you are. So if you are involved in criminal activities, you will be searched by the police for sure. They will immediately identify you because most of the transactions are traceable. So that's, according to me, one way to exchange the money. But as you understood, the most important thing here is the KYC, know your customer, the identification procedure. So more and more you will see companies doing the certified digital identity. And once you've got a certified digital identity, you will exist on the net and you will be able to show that you are the legal owner, for instance, of a car. Because what are you using today to show other people, to show to the police or to show to a seller, to a buyer, sorry, that you are the legal owner of your car? You just have a paper with your name and the paper is difficult to reproduce. Today, that's the way that it works. Tomorrow, it will be written in the blockchain, in the distributed ledger technology, where the people will have their certified ID, but will be linked to the serial number of the car. So it won't be possible to sell the same car twice in the same day, because that's one of the techniques that is used by thieves, is to sell the same car a few days, a few times a day. But here, you cannot, because the same thing as the banknote example that I gave you a few minutes ago, you will give the permission. If I sell my car to Errol, for instance, I will give the permission to Errol to write down his ID card number to show that he's the legal owner of my car. So there will be only one owner. And then when the state will ask, have you got an insurance? The only way to show it is to prove that there is an insurance linked to the ID of Errol and linked to the serial number of the car. So the police will say, okay, your car has been correctly insured. There is a data stamp. They know very well if everything is correct. So when you are traveling today with your passport, what is a passport? A passport is a very complex technology using SIM cards, using electromagnetic things, using UV, using several security items. Why? Because they don't want other people to counterfeit it. But as soon as you are in the blockchain, you know very well that you cannot counterfeit an ID in the blockchain. Once you are in the blockchain, you've got a cryptographic security. So that means that this famous hash function cannot be, I would say till now, it hasn't been hacked yet, but it's very difficult to hack it. For the time being, it has not yet been hacked. So your identity is quite secured. And all the ownership, for instance, you've got a university diploma from Leiden University, you will get it on the blockchain. Nobody will be able to cheat on that. So that's something that will transform the world. And what I would like to show you, it's I'm going to share another screen right now for a few seconds. Let me just find, got it here. Let's share this one. You see my screen, Errol?
The UN launched blockchain in May 2017. It now supports over 100,000 Syrians living in refugee camps. In just a few seconds and without the exchange of any cash, groceries are bought all through the scan of an iris. That's the efficiency of blockchain.
Every person is giving 20 dinar for themselves and their children. They take the food they want from the supermarket and go to the cashier, who takes the information from their eyes. And then they bring their purchases to their house.
Blockchain could provide a solution to problems which have plagued the aid sector for decades. In 2012, former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said that 30% of donations failed to reach beneficiaries due to middlemen and corrupt officials. But through blockchain, corruption is almost impossible. It allows the UN to track the movement of every cent from an instant a donation is made to when a physical good is bought. UN agencies like the World Food Programme can save around $40,000 a month. The success of blockchain in Jordan is leading the UN to bring the technology to other humanitarian missions, with the hope of reaching more people in need.
All right, so you got here one concrete application of the ID, the way that they use the ID. I'm going to just stop the over. Sorry for that. The ID is for these people. You know, when you're flying from a country, you don't take a lot of things with you, and when they arrive in a refugee camp, what they do when entering the refugee camp, they just have their eyes scanned. The iris of his eye is scanned, and they've got a biometric identity with the fingerprints and maybe some code. So one unique code is created for those people, and this unique code is used as an ID. And this ID is linked with a wallet. Can you imagine being a woman in such a camp and receiving $20 every week for every person? If you got 3 children, you got money, and she has to bear that money. So that's dangerous. It can be stolen, can be lost. The money can be used to do something else than buying buying food, sorry. So here it's easy with the iris. On one way, they identified. There is a wallet linked to their biometric ID. And when they go to the shop, they just have to present their eyes. So that means that they don't need a mobile, they don't need a smartphone. They just need the eye. And they cannot cheat. The money is taken from their wallet, and it cannot be spent somewhere else. That's something fantastic in the way that we will use our money. Tomorrow, when you know that most of the people do not have access to banking service, have a look in Africa. Most of the people in Africa do not have access to the banking service because it's not easy, it's expensive. When you look at Nigeria, they've got more than 40% of the people using crypto wallets because for them it's easy. They can store the money, they can spend the money, and they cannot counterfeit the money. I know that Turkey is one of the countries in the world where the crypto is very, very widely used because most of the people would like to have some security against the Turkish lira and the evolution of the price of the lira. So what makes the things difficult for the people is the access to the bank and also the inflation that is problematic. So I'm going to continue my presentation. I'm going back to the presentation. So we just have seen the biometric ID in the refugee camp in Jordania. In China, they use the combination of something else, which is the face recognition. And there is a system called Smile to Pay. That's fantastic. You go to the restaurant, you order the food that you want to eat, and then you go to the cash. There is a face recognition system, and just to pay, you have to smile. And when you smile, it's considered as a signature. It's always nice to see the people smiling when it's time to pay, because paying is always something difficult. Here you've got to smile. That means that you are happy to pay. So it's a very nice application. But you will say, Mark, You told me that all the transactions are traceable. They will know everything about what we spend, where we spend it. The state will be very, very keen on that. They will know everything about us. Our identity is certified. What is the future for us? Will we be under the scrutiny of Big Brother? That's something that most of the people in the world pay attention. It's the privacy. So the privacy is you have got the right to do what you want to do and being discreet. You don't want everybody knows what you're doing because it's public. So the secret of the solution is the self-sovereign ID. When speaking about the self-sovereign ID, it's something which is fantastic. For instance, for the people who are around 18, when they have to enter, let's say, a discotheque, and they ask you, can you please prove me that you are older than 18 years old today? You will have to disclose your ID card. So that means they will know your name, your address, your date of birth, the number of the serial number of your ID card, and a lot of information that you don't want to disclose to the doorman. The only thing that you want to disclose is that you are older than 18. So you will have the choice with the self-sovereign ID to manage all your data. You will be the legal owner of all your data. And when somebody is asking you for an information, the verifier, they will ask for an information and you will give the information that has been asked. For instance, that person entering the discotheque will just have to answer, yes, I am more than 18 years old. And it will be checked with a system that's called the verifiable data registry. And they let you in without knowing who you are and having other information. Same thing when somebody asks you, let's say your employer needs your resume, needs your CV. They don't need to know everything about you. You will give them access to your education, to the certifications that you have had. So the certification is very important and the diplomas also. So what we see now is the self-sovereign identity is a way for you to control all of your data. And that's exactly what's for the time being going on in the close future, is that the European identification system is studying the possibility to go on eIDAS systems based on self-sovereign identity. So each country will have its own node, but the node will be able to communicate with other countries. So that means today, when somebody is traveling from Turkey to, let's say, Belgium, and you're welcome, you will have to show your passport when crossing the border. Tomorrow, you won't need that. Just your face recognition or iris scan and a fingerprint. Every DBase will be communicating because normally your iris and your fingerprint combination is a unique combination worldwide. And people cannot cheat about that because it's in the DLT and it's protected by the hash function that we were speaking about a little bit earlier. As you understand, the data now you understood, the money becomes programmable. So when you have seen those people in Jordania paying with money, you could also make other type of contracts. Let's say, for instance, that you got children, you give them some money and you say that the money won't be usable to buy, let's say, alcohol and cigarettes. It's something that you can program. You can program a lot of things. You can program, for instance, when you sell your car, that the money will be exchanged as soon as the serial number of the car will be your belonging, because you will have the right to write down your ID card number. It could be a lot of things. Could be insurances. The insurances become also programmable. Let's have a look, for instance, at the flight delays. Most of the companies knows very well at what time the flights are departing, at what time the flights are arriving. It's public data that can be collected by the system. So you can put, let's say, you can pay your insurance, and for a special flight, once the insurance has been paid, the program works by itself. It knows very well the time that has been taken by the flight, if there is a delay, and if it has been delayed, and according to the contract, you got the right to indemnification, you got it automatically. So that means that a lot of contracts will become automatically programmable, and the insurance company will just have to pay attention to the return that they want on the insurance. And as you understand, with programmation of the money, all the sectors of the world will be impacted. Legal, supply chain, government, energy, retail, education, travel, insurance, healthcare, food, everything will run one day or the other in the blockchain because of the disintermediation and the security of the system. The Europe is working also on defining European blockchain standards. So that means that it is coming and it will stay. So they want all the systems in Europe to communicate and to use the STEM standards. So that will be very important, as I told you, to comply with different regulations. GDPR for the protection of the data, EIDAS I were talking about a little bit earlier, and we'll have access to a wide selection of APIs to integrate your applications using the European standards. So that will be for identification, for transfers, and so on. So the first use case of the Europe will be the notarization. So notarization is very important to exchange properties. You will have the diplomas, you've got the trust data sharing, and so on. To be correct, as you understood, when we speak about blockchain and distributed ledger technology, we don't speak only about Bitcoin, but we speak on a lot of projects. Today, we've got more than 12,000 different projects. We've got 400 different exchanges all over the world. What does that mean? That means that today, if you want to regulate, as they tend to do on a national level, it has no sense because you have to coordinate it worldwide, because most of the people can access any website from any location, but in China for sure. When you look also at the total number of users using crypto in the world, it's improving dramatically. There were 106 million crypto users in January 2021, and in June, in just 6 months, we got 221 million users. So that means that in 13 years, it took 13 years to Satoshi Nakamoto to get 106 million users in the world, and in 6 months, it's more than doubled. Other very interesting things to know about the crypto world and the DLT is that the euro is becoming digital, but we cannot speak about a crypto euro because it's a bank, and the bank don't like the word crypto, but like the word digital. But the digital crypto will be the same. So every contract in a very near future in Europe could be written using smart contracts, distributed ledger technology, blockchain, and paid in euro. So to conclude, I would say that the first generation of the digital revolution a few years ago brought us the Internet of Information. And now the second generation, that's what we are experiencing right now, that is powered by the blockchain technology, brings us the Internet of Value. Errol, this is what I had to say today according to the time limit that you gave me. And I'm ready to answer all the questions, or if I've got the answers for sure. Thank you, Errol.
Thank you very much, Mark. It is really very fruitful and very informative speech. It's always good to have you as our speaker, so we have some more knowledge on the issues, mostly the one with the iris used payment system. I think it is one of the revolution which could be also very, very based on the protection of the people. I mean, against fraud and theft. I'm very thankful. I will just check with the participants whether there is any question. Do we have any question to Mr. Toledo? So then it's very well done.
Thank you very much.
Mark, thank you very much. We hope we will keep in touch with you on behalf of the Aydın University Blockchain Academy, because our academy is the first approved by the YÖK, the regulatory of Turkey, on the blockchain issues, blockchain solutions. So we would like to get you a promise that we can use you anytime we need you.
Thank you very much, Errol, and hope to talk to you soon. İyi günler.
Thank you very much. All the best.
All the best.
Thank you. Thank you.